Hi, Kendall Rawls here with the Rawls Group at International Succession Planning Association. Also, we have Joe Gerard joining us today, who is an excellent sales coach, and I've been working with him for a couple years now, I think, and has added tremendous value to our business and has just been an amazing brainstorming creative partner as well. He's helping us bring to life the Certified Succession Planner designation, leveraging or I guess using the succession matrix, which has been a philosophy that we have leaned on at the Rawls Group for almost 50 years now, or 50 years, because we just celebrated our 50th anniversary.
Woo.
And as we've been working around the matrix, we've just, as he said in a previous episode, we nerd out on how powerful it is from a communication and influencing standpoint. And also, I mean, just being able to impact a business owner's life and business. So in case you haven't ever seen the matrix, I'm going to show it to you. But I have to remember how to use my Zoom. So here's an image of the matrix. In short, there has been a very prolonged, not prolonged in a good way, study where we research financial planners, family therapists, management experts, attorneys, CPAs, and essentially, in short, debated and created a study of what are the key issues impacting succession planning, impacting business value, and creating long-term sustainable businesses. There is another video and a lot of content around what the study was like. That's not what we want to focus this call on, or this conversation on. What we really wanted to focus this conversation on is the simplicity of this image. However, the complexity of the dynamic and again, how it can be used to create really long-lasting relationships with business owners. Joe, from working with us over a couple years now and getting to know this matrix a little bit more, what are your thoughts? What can you share?
Well, I mean, the thing that sticks out for me all the time is it is a simple, there's 10 things. And, at first I thought this was stuff that you guys put together based on your experience working with clients. But then you told me how extensive the research was behind it, that, there was something like 40 things that you narrowed down to like 10 elements. And then when you look at this and you drill into it, these are like non-negotiable. These are universal truths in all businesses. Every business is going to deal with this, especially when it comes to succession planning. And so, I like the fact that you guys are taking a 360-degree holistic approach to looking at people's businesses. And the biggest challenge that we've talked about over and over is how advisors, that on your team and how other service professionals are challenged with bringing the conversation from one side to the other, because people really want to focus on their individual problem. So that's where we started to talk about, well, how do we help people, talk about this stuff in a full conversation without feeling like we're trying to overwhelm our clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And some of the things in my time working with the Rawls Group, large part of what I do is help develop our succession planners and helping them understand the matrix, and not just these 10 areas and silos, but the complexity and how interdependent they are. And what's been powerful in my own experience and helping build the practice here and interacting with business owners and next gen is these 10 areas can represent, at least the way that I view the world, a soul access or a window into the soul of the business, or into a issue or a problem or something that the business owner wants to have addressed. On the left side of this matrix, this generally is oftentimes the pink elephant in the room, that the business owner knows that in order to be successful and grow the business, that there's a lot of interpersonal scary things happening over there that they'd rather not talk about and rather not deal with, but it's something that's going to have to be addressed.
Yeah.
And or the business has created a family issue, and that they would rather it would, when, if all was equal, they would love to have great family relationships and have a well-performing, growing business, which oftentimes when we at the Rawls Group work with them, they didn't even realize that there was a solution out there to help them achieve that.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, like, the thing I think about is, I've done a lot of leadership coaching for clients. I've done a lot of work on the team dynamics, and it's not because they called me and said, hey, could you be my leadership coach? Because that's nothing to do with my website or my brand at all. I'm a sales coach, typically performance coach. They're going to come to me saying, hey, we need to move these levers and make these things happen. So they're going to come to me from the business performance side. But if I understand how business is supposed to work, these 10 things are also universal truths in the clients I've worked with. But if I understand that stuff, it's my duty, it's my obligation to, like, if I really care about these guys, is to ask the questions. Well, what's happening here? How is that working? Who else is involved? What happens if you do? What happens if you don't? And really understand what's going on in business so we can expand the conversation. So I can help them sort of reframe how they're looking at stuff. And if I can get them to sort of think differently about themselves, they'll think differently about me. And that's when, like we said earlier, is that then they go, well, do you think you could help us with that? Or that's why a lot of clients will come back to me in a different email and say, hey, I have this other project. Do you think you could help me with that? Whether I'm the one that helps them with it or I know somebody else, it's about deepening that trust and building that long-term relationship. And that's why you and I worked together for a bunch of years. If you have something that's on your mind, you could contact me, even if it's not a contract, but to say, hey, I have this question, what would we do with this? And I would probably try and go find the answers if I don't have it. And that's really why I like, what you guys are doing with the Matrix, and what people should be thinking about is not necessarily how to solve all of these things for people, but know how to work them through those different windows, as you said.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking at here, the reason why there's the lines in between the 10 areas is because something happening over in successor preparation is going to influence and impact something in business structuring. Yeah. And so the more you know about these 10 areas, the more flexible of a communicator and a solution provider you can be. And again, to just reinforce what you said, Joe, it's not so much about one person being the fixer for all these things, but they now are in a position to be able to facilitate the outcome, the positive outcome of these things, whether it's through a referral network and or a service that they provide themselves. It's just so much flexibility. It oftentimes, and I kind of view this too, I don't know if the wheel of fortune is the right one, but as I'm
Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah. If I'm talking or as I'm interacting with a business owner, asking them questions, which we're going to get to in a minute, and I'm seeing that more of their focus is less on the estate planning side, but there really is a family issue, I'm then able to pivot and go deep into the family governance, family dynamics stuff. And because of how interrelated they are, ask the questions, implication questions or connecting questions of how is this impacting your business? How is the issues with no boundaries between the family and the business impacting your leadership team? So having the in-depth understanding of these 10 areas and then allows me or a professional service provider to ask those connecting questions, which through those questions, you're not selling them on what you provide, but you're educating them on this is an issue. And this person, just as you mentioned, Joe, well, can you help us with this?
Yeah.
How can you help? I mean, to get that question is without you having to say, well, can I call you next week? Can I call you in a month? When they go, can you help us? Like, that's the golden question.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get away from, hey, could you do a proposal and do an RFP and you're going to be competing against everybody else, for apples to apples, that's where you're missing the opportunity to be the one that they would create a business model around your services and what you think they should do, right? There's a big difference in that, and that's something that we work on a lot when we're talking about like creating need, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So a philosophy that both Joe and I are bought into is spend selling. Yeah. I mean, how great is spend selling? Spend
selling is great. I still think it's great because I have a video online and I outrank the author on YouTube.
That's awesome.
But that's one thing people ask me all the time because, spin selling is a methodology that still stands the test of time. It's different now because people don't want to be in an interrogation. So you have to really spend the time thinking about your customers, doing that pre-call planning, understanding the cause and effect nature of their business so that you can work them through a thinking exercise, right? It's, I'll jump into getting nerdy about, we talk about need and creating need. If your client is just saying, hey, I need you to help me solve this problem, how much would it cost for you to solve this problem? If you just solve for that problem, you're going to be continuously competing and you're going to get overly commoditized in one area of your business. And you're going to be you're going to have to deal a lot with leads and conversions and conversations to get more business. But then if you get good at, creating need by saying, okay, well, if you're asking about that, you probably also need this, which is the upsell kind of attitude, which we want to get into, which is doing that. But if you get into a higher level where you're anticipating that need, going, well, if this is happening and this is happening, I bet these other things are also happening. So if we ask good questions about how those things are interconnected or implications from spin selling, cause and effect type thinking, when you start to create more need and anticipate future need, that's where you deepen your ability to provide insights. And that's where your clients go, well, why would I talk to anybody else? Because nobody else is even asking those level 2 questions, let alone those level 3 questions where they're thinking about my business differently than I'm thinking about my business.
Yep. And I find whenever even using the example of how you and I began to work together,
yeah.
The questions were not surface. They were deep questions, and you didn't really, you kind of had a layer of understanding of what I was calling you about. But the more you listened, because you had depth of knowledge in a variety of areas, you were able to pull that depth of knowledge to ask the right question. A saying I love is the person with the best questions controls the conversation. And through the questions you asked, it communicated your expertise, which was extremely powerful, which was part of, it's like, okay, well, if he's asking this question, he's got to have information to back that up. He's got to be able to.
I don't just have a list of questions, because you also wouldn't sit there and let me try a bunch of stuff on you, right? That's when you see an amateur being like, okay, question number 48. Right? You wouldn't be there. You'd be 3 questions deep. You'd be like, I'm out of here. Right? Send me a proposal. I'll read it on the plane.
Yeah. Which was so powerful. So when Joe and I were talking about the matrix, he was like, well, actually, I think you were talking about a presentation you were doing in spin selling. And I was like, well, I got to show you this resource of what I had created for our team here, because I had really geeked out over spin selling a couple of years ago and creating a sales and development program for our people. And based upon every area of the matrix, there is a way to create questions. And what I did was I went through I've helped build it and write the certified succession planner. But at the same time, I was trying to create tools for our planners to leverage. And so I just brainstormed a ton of questions as it related to the matrix. And that is how powerful the succession matrix is, just in terms of options. And for a business owner, I talk about when it comes to succession planning, having options towards your end goal puts you in more control. As a service provider, having options to be able to influence and place your product or service in any of those 10 areas, because you're able to ask that question, creates more control.
Absolutely. And when you showed me this, you're showing the spreadsheet, right?
Yep. Is it down up there?
I think you're sharing the PowerPoint.
Oh, my bad, Pete.
Hey, welcome back. But no, while you're finding that, the big thing for me is when you showed me this, the first thing I said is, let's sell this, because this is really, it takes what you're asking them to do, and you're putting it into a very good if-then type of a methodology. It's helping somebody go, okay, so everything we've talked about is theoretically, it's all well and good, but what do I do about it? So what you've done is you've created a very cool tool that they say, okay, when you see this, do this. And then when this happens, now do this. I love what you built.
Yeah, I forgot I did it. And when I remembered, I was like, oh my God, I love it when I'm smart. My smart self in the future meets my smart
for.
self in the past.
Yeah.
Well, as a treat, for those of you watching, we have this download that does summarize some of those questions. I don't know if I'm sharing it because I'm bad at my Zoom, but here are some of those questions in that spreadsheet. And a lot of it is in this download. So we've given you some of the gold that way. And if you have questions about the program or sales coaching, please reach out to us because we're passionate about all this stuff.
And I think the big thing is with these questions, it's, people are always looking for, like, if you're watching this, you're looking for an answer for your business. The people that you're helping are looking for an answer in their business. So how are you helping them get to that aha moment? How are you sharing an insight? How are you helping them reframe what they're looking at without overwhelming, right? You need to make sure whatever you're offering them is something that they could do something with. And so they might come to you for tax planning advice. And you're going to help them with that, and you're going to make that experience effortless. You're going to make that seamless. You're going to help them solve that problem. But through your questions and just through your ability to take a step back and look at their business from a larger area, like you said, the thing you said earlier is the depth of knowledge. You just having the depth. So the CSP program gives you the depth of knowledge. It doesn't mean you got to solve all this stuff, but understanding the intricacies, the interdependencies, the complexity here makes you go, ooh, so that you're genuinely curious about what's happening on this other side. Can I ask you a question about that? Oh, and then you're taking notes so that by the time you're ready to help them solve something, you're solving it from a place of like real, genuine service. So like you said, for me is I ask all those questions when I'm first talking to somebody, also knowing that there is a chance I might not be the one that can best help them. And I'm prepared to walk away from that if I'm not ideally suited to solve that. If I have to bring people from my network and build sort of a little mini tribe together to solve this thing, that's another option. But in order to start somewhere, you have to have that depth of knowledge. You need to know how they're interconnected so your questions have a lot more value and weight to them.
Yep, absolutely.